Good evening, folks. Tuesday night. Wasn't really planning on making a video, but got to thinking about something today and figured, what the heck. Tonight I'm going to smoke this Undercrown Maduro. I think I've smoked these on here before. They're pretty good. I got a 5-pack. They are a Drew Estate cigar. Undercrown Maduro. It's a medium to full body usually. Take this foot wrapper off. They say it's an alternative to the Liga Privada line, but never had one of those, so I don't know. If you've had both, let me know. Got my V cutter. I'm gonna go ahead and give that a cut. There you go. That's a good cut. I love the V cut. Anyway, it's a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, a Habano binder, and a Brazilian Nicaraguan filler. It's very dark notes. Pretty good draw. Always get kind of dark chocolate espresso. A little bit of spice, but they're pretty good. And yeah, if you've had both the Ligas and these, let me know, because I'm thinking about trying some Ligas. Deep Cut Energy, if you watch him. If you don't, you need to check him out. I think it's one of his favorites. At least he enjoys them. He talks about them a lot. But he's got a real good channel. Anyway, drinking it tonight. I'm smoking it tonight with this wood finishing series, Maker's Mark. This is the 2026. I got this the other day. I've had the 24 and 25. I'll talk about it more on another video. I just opened it this evening. But if you see any of these Maker's Mark with that year on there like that, this bottle, I suggest you pick it up. They're all been pretty good to me. I'm not a huge fan of Maker Mark, their regular line, but these have all been very good. So I'll probably get another one of these if they still have them. But you could still find some of them old ones, even the 24s I've seen floating around. But anyway, so tomorrow at work, we're going to do something with the with the sheriff's office that I used to work for. And I got to thinking about something that happened many years ago. I mean, gosh, it was probably in the early 90s. So the area I rode was, if you're familiar at all with Jacksonville, it's at Phillips Highway and Emerson Street. Between Emerson and Interstate 95, there's a strip of road there that's, well, still not so much today. They've kind of cleaned it up a little bit, but always known for prostitution. And back then in the 90s, if you're old enough to remember, the crack was the big thing back then. Now it's fentanyl and I guess heroin and things, but back then it was crack. It was everybody was on the crack. But along there, see, if you remember, US 1 back in the day before they built the interstate was one of the main highways that people used to travel north and south. And so there, right along that strip, there was a lot of old motels, those sort of single story ones. And, they're probably, I don't know how they're old. They're probably from the 50s and 60s. A lot of them are still there today. And, but at this point, you weren't really finding travelers in there. It was more people living there or renting by the hour. There was more prostitution and drugs being sold out of them for the most part, and people down on their luck. So I rode midnights, permanent midnights. We had a 10-hour shift at the time. They don't do that no more, but We worked 5, you were off 4, you worked 5 days, you were off 4, then you worked 6 days and you're off 4. So every time you're off 4 days at a time, which was nice. I enjoyed it. But so it was one night, and there was a old, I guess, a closed down car lot. It was an old crappy car lot, but it had been closed. The building was gone. It was just basically a paved lot that was right along the road. There is a 4-lane divided highway. A lot of foot traffic with prostitutes and drug dealers and what have you, homeless people. We didn't have a lot of homeless people back then, not like you do now, but you had some. Usually they were mentally ill people more so than just homeless. I mean, but had a lot of foot traffic. But on midnight shift, late at night, it would slow down like a lot. And even now, my son, I told you, is with JSO. He goes late, so a lot of times late at night, it'll slow way down, especially if it's cold out. But so I was sitting there one night, and when it got slow, I would sit in that lot and watch traffic. And there was a hotel across the street, and I'll tell the story about that hotel in another time. But I was sitting there watching that hotel, and I'd also watch for cars that keep people be out cruising, picking up prostitutes or buying drugs. And there was like next to this lot, there was a business called Mac Papers. I guess they made paper supplies. Like, I don't know. But it was a 24-hour operation. And wasn't a huge place, a local business, but they were open 24 hours. And so wasn't a lot of things open all night in Jacksonville back then. There still isn't, but back then this city rolled up at 9 o'clock at night. But there was a couple things. So if I saw somebody go by once and I saw them go by a second time, I'd give them that they were going to Taco Bell and coming back, for instance. They were open 24 hours back then. And but if I saw you a third time, then it was clear that you're just out riding, looking to pick up a prostitute, buy drugs and things like that. So I might stop you, especially if I saw you, the headlight out or some reason. But I didn't just stop people just riding by once or twice. I mean, because people just living their lives, didn't worry about it. I was trying to keep people from picking up the girls and buying drugs down there. A lot of the more affluent areas of town, people would come down there to buy their drugs. It was crazy, the people you come across out there picking up the prostitutes. But got some stories about that too. But this particular night, I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and I see this car coming, and I'm watching the hotel across the street. And they used to do hand to hand. The people would pull in the hotel, and somebody come out. You'd see the guy go take money, go in the room, and then come back out with something, hand it to him, and the guy drive off. So I would stop those people driving off. Usually they didn't use the turn signal pulling out or something. You had a PC to stop them. And usually the crack was somewhere right in their vicinity when you'd stop them. But at this night, I saw this guy go by, and he had his window down, and something, I don't know why, you get this intuition, and something told me he went, and you had a wide view, so I watched him the whole way. His window was down. He didn't look over at me, which is kind of weird. Most people, when they see a police car, they'll look, you know. And so if they don't look, it's this old saying that we have, is like they're going, maybe if I don't look at him, he won't see me. But the guy, something about him just struck me like something's off with this guy. A white guy in a decent car. Something was just weird. And when he went by, I noticed one of his taillights was out. So I'm like, okay, here you go. So I pull out behind him, turn on the blue lights. I stop him. He pulled in. He actually pulled in to one of the hotels up the road, a different one of the spots. As I by the time I caught up to him, he was already pulling into the hotel. That could mean he's either staying there or he's trying to get off the road, and hopefully I'll drive on by. But either way, I stopped him. I got out. Long story short, this guy, when I called in the tag as I was doing the stop, came back with the alert tone. It was stolen car. So I'm used to work that by myself a lot. A lot of my squad worked at about 15 miles away where it was a little busier, part of, more populated. I don't know what to call it, but it's a lot more calls for service up there at night because it was a lot of apartments and restaurants and things like that. So a lot of times I was by myself down there doing this stuff. So I stop this guy, I get him out. I walk up to the car because he's just sitting there. And I said, hey, let me get you act like nothing was wrong. Kind of stalling for time while they caught up to me. And long story short, this guy, he had went into somebody's house and broke into their house while they were sleeping, this couple, when I found out later. He had stolen a bunch of stuff from them, from their bedroom, their wallet, the car keys, coins, jewelry, other things from throughout the house. He went through the house. He went in the kids' rooms, took things, put it all in the car in the garage, opened the garage door, backed it out, and left, stole the car, all while this family slept at night. Happened a few days prior. And that kind of weirds you out because, you think about somebody walking around your house while you're sleeping, stealing your stuff. I mean, by the grace of God, they didn't wake up or he didn't decide to kill them or do something else. Who knows what. But all he did was take their stuff and leave, commit the burglary to an occupied dwelling here in Florida, and then stole the car. So I recovered the car, arrested the guy, charged him. It was my last night of a work cycle, so I was off for 4 days after that. So on my first day off, you had a certain amount of time to go file, they call it in Florida back then. Back then you had to actually go to the state attorney's office on a felony and tell them the facts of the case, and then they would take it from there. So I went the next day, my first day off. I had to go down there and do that. The attorney was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's kind of creepy. Kind of freaked him out. So, and got to remember, this was the early 90s, probably 94, 93, something like that. So, it's, you didn't hear, it's a little different time. We didn't have the internet really or nothing like that. So it's kind of weird you out. So fast forward to the next work cycle. I come back to work after the 4 days. So you're talking, I arrested him one day, there was 4 days. And on the 5th day, I come back to work. I'm sitting out there in the same freaking spot late at night, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Things had kind of slowed down. Sitting there, and I see a car coming, and he had the window down again. Oh, and the guy had a license that was suspended. He was a habitual traffic offender, suspended for life, which you very seldom saw. Suspended for life. So he had no license, and there's no way he would have gotten one in them 4 days, So I see him driving another car, and I'm like, that son of a gun. And that was actually a felony traffic charge. So I said, I'm going to stop that guy. Plus, he's a piece of crap for breaking into people's house. So I get behind him again because I knew he had a suspended or a revoked license for life. And I go to stop him. He stops again, believe it or not. Same guy stops again, about the same spot. He didn't pull in the hotel. He was on the street. Again, when I call on the tag, it comes back with the alert tone, stolen car. This joker the state attorney had let this guy back out within the 4 days after all of that. And he went straight back to the same neighborhood and did the same exact thing to another family, took another car. I was like, what in the world is happening? And what are the odds of him driving by me twice in 5 days? So I remember I went to file on that the next day. I had to go back and do whole nother case. And I remember I went to the state attorney and I kind of said, so are y'all going to keep him in jail this time, or are you going to wait till he kills somebody? And they got mad and complained on me. It didn't go nowhere, but And they're like, "Well," I said, "What do you?" They said, what are you talking about?" I told them, "Well, this is the second time. I was just here, 4 days ago." And they were like, "Yeah, but we can only do what we can do." And I'm like, "Well, when he breaks in your house and takes your stuff, maybe you'll have a different view." Yeah, because it's some family you don't know. I guess you don't care. You ain't gonna. You're just gonna let this guy. You're gonna let him out again and victimize somebody else. Because what are they? What is he gonna do when somebody wakes up and he's in their house? I never found him with a weapon, but that doesn't mean he doesn't carry one or have one. And what if he's a pedophile? Who knows? There's kids in these houses and other things. Just kind of it bothered me, and to this day I think about that guy. Not in a it doesn't scare me, but it's more of a one that makes me angry the way the state attorney a lot of times just lets stuff go like that. And the other thing that kind of bothers me is that you put yourself in these people's shoes. They had, I don't know how he was getting in the house, because detectives ended up working part of the cases after that. I just caught him and arrested him and recovered the vehicle and some of the property that was still in there. So I don't know the ins and outs of it, but think about that. You're in your house sleeping at night, and there's some knucklehead walking around looking at you and your wife, and your old lady, and you're sleeping, and he's on your bedside table going through your dresser. And because one of the guys came to get his car that night, the first guy we didn't get a hold of. The second guy actually came out, got his car, and he told me a little bit about what had happened. And he had taken stuff off the nightstand, out at the drawer. He went to the wife's side, took some of her stuff, all while you're sleeping. And people think I'm a light sleeper, and nobody's going to come in. And, well, yeah, they will. And something tells me that happens more than we think. I mean, about it, but that's I've heard about other cases, but it's just what are the odds that the same guy within 4 or 5 days? So I say all that to say, you got to remember that when you're in your house, and you make sure your doors are locked and your windows are shut, and you have a responsibility to protect yourself and your family. The police, I would love to come and catch that guy in the act and save you. That's what. That's why we do this job. But the reality is that we're reactionary most of the time. You're reacting. You're catching the guy after the fact, or you get the call and show up after. Um, there are times when we've caught people. I've caught people in the act of doing things, but most of the time you don't, because you don't know about it till it's too late. Um, so we do the best we can, but ultimately the onus is on you to do what you can to protect yourself and your family. And whatever that looks like, I mean, I highly suggest a gun, but that's not for everybody. But do something, have some way, have a plan. Think about what you're going to do if you wake up in the middle of the night and there's some guy creeping around the house. And it's tell your family what's the plan. You know, you have to think about these things, because 99.9% chance it'll never happen to you, but there's a chance, and it happens to people all the time, and you need to think about it. The other thing to think about is, don't wait until this happens to you to take action, because then it's too late, because the odds of this happening again to you are pretty slim. You need to prepare ahead of time. Don't think, well, I'll wait. If something happens, I'll. No, you need to prepare. You don't need to be, like some kind of, a SEAL, or, some kind of special operator, and, paint your face and wear canteens and all that shit. You don't need to do all that, but get yourself something to protect yourself and become proficient with it. Or take you some kind of jujitsu or some kind of fighting classes and learn how to do that. Have something in your tool kit that you can pull out when you need it. And don't wait till it happens to decide to do it. You need to think about it now. But anyway, that's all I got for tonight. Pretty crazy, that whole thing. again, I drive past this area every day going to and from work, so these things pop into my mind. But I think about that guy a lot, and I always wonder whatever happened to him. Did he keep doing it? I never knew what happened with the criminal cases, so I'm assuming he pled guilty or something on this stuff. I don't know. I never got called in for any kind of depots or court, so I really don't know what happened to him, and I don't remember his name. Otherwise, I'd look it up, but I can't remember anymore. But just something to think about, because this stuff happens and nobody thinks it's going to happen to them till it does. Anyway, you guys have a good evening. I'm going to finish this Maduro Undercrown. Still pretty good. I haven't pretty good burn, pretty good even line, and pretty good smoke. So you guys have a good evening and stay safe.